But first, we must be honest about the lies and abuses that have occurred within these walls. Unfortunately, in recent years, a corrupt group of hacks and radicals within the ranks of the American government. But I stand before you today to declare that those days are over, and they are never going to come back. They're never coming back.
And so in 2024, we did the best thing that we could do to keep America safe again. And we elected President Donald J. Trump.
President Trump has prioritized tackling our nation's fentanyl crisis, and he has taken decisive action to fight it. I want to thank our U.S. attorneys who are here today, our state attorneys general from all around the country, who will work to prosecute violent criminals, get the drugs off our streets, get the gangs off our streets, and get the illegal aliens out of our country. And thank you to all of our federal, state, and local law enforcement officers who are here today, who keep us safe every day and night. Thank you to all of you. Today we have with us one of the most effective drug seizing teams in the entire country. I said I wish I told them earlier, take them and put them in every major city in the country. Since January, they have saved millions of lives, taking drugs and illegal weapons off the streets of Boston. And Todd, they asked us for more U.S. attorneys. I told them we're on it. We also have two angel moms here today. Anne lost her son. He was 15. He thought he was taking a Percocet at school, and it was laced with fentanyl. And he was beautiful, and I'm so sorry. But all of these people in this room, thanks to the directive of Donald Trump, are going to keep our streets safe and protect our kids. Thank you for being here. And Tammy's beautiful daughter, Kayla, was murdered violently by an illegal alien from El Salvador who should not have been in our country. And thanks to Donald Trump, they will all be deported very soon, thanks to his work, Homeland Security. And I say the unsung hero, Stephen Miller. On stage, we have, this is 180 kilograms. It represents, not real, of fentanyl. So this represents 1 kilo of
Hunter's
fentanyl.
stash.
In its pure form, this
Hunter's
1
like,
kilo can kill 500,000 people.
where is it?
The 180 there, in pure form, could kill 90 million people. That is the population of California, Texas, and Florida.
It's a lot.
That's what we're dealing with in our country. That's why angel moms go around the country. That's why Donald Trump has taken such a hard stance against cartels, securing our borders, getting these gangs and drugs out of our country. But look at that. That can kill 3 states in its pure form. That should terrify everyone. However, taking the drugs off the streets is only half the battle. President Trump has secured our borders and will continue to fight the cartels throughout this country, deport them all, or lock them up for the rest of their lives, thanks to our prosecutors around this country where they belong. Under the last administration, cartels, criminals, they freely walked in and out of our country with impunity. No longer. Under Donald Trump, they live in fear, and they better live in fear, because we're coming after all of them.
Yeah, punks.
I am so proud to have a team with Emil and Todd and all of our great team.
Emil.
And we all work for the greatest president in the history of our country. We are so proud to work at the directive of Donald Trump. He will never stop fighting for us, and we will never stop fighting for him and for our country.
Thank you, Pam, very much. What a job you're doing. People ask me, what am I going to do about law enforcement all the time? The fake news back there, they're asking me that all the time. What am I going to do? And when are you going to do it? And I answer them by saying I've already done most of it by appointing the people that I've appointed. They're sitting right here. They've done most of it. I don't do it, they do it. But first, we must be honest about the lies and abuses that have occurred within these walls. Unfortunately, in recent years, a corrupt group of hacks and radicals within the ranks of the American government obliterated the trust and goodwill built up over generations.
True.
They weaponized the vast powers of our intelligence and law enforcement agencies to try and thwart the will of the American people. You remember the 51 intelligence agents that said, as an example, that Hunter Biden's laptop from hell came from Russia, when they knew it came right from his bedroom. They knew that. It was a big lie, and they knew it so well. They spied on my campaign, launched one hoax and disinformation operation after another, broke the law on a colossal scale, persecuted my family, staff, and supporters, raided my home, Mar-a-Lago, and did everything within their power to prevent me from becoming the president of the United States. With the help of of radicals like Mark Elias,
Yes.
Mark Pomerantz.
Yes.
And these are people that nobody's ever seen anything like it. There's so many others, but these are people that are bad people.
Yeah.
Really bad people. They tried to
Normizing.
turn America into a corrupt, communist, and third world country. But in the end, the thugs failed and the truth won. Freedom won, justice won, democracy won, and above all, the American people won. There could be no more heinous betrayal of American values than to use the law to terrorize the innocent and reward the wicked. That's what they were doing at a level that's never been seen before. And it's exactly what you saw with Joe Biden, Merrick Garland, and their cronies to do the building of the last 4 years. They ripped what they've ripped down is incalculable. But what you're going to build up is likewise something that will be breaking all sorts of records. They set loose violent criminals while targeting patriotic parents at school board meetings. They dropped charges against Antifa and Hamas supporters while labeling traditional Catholics as domestic terrorists. The Catholics, we did very well with the Catholic vote, so I want to thank them for that. They really did record numbers. I would say, what's with the Catholics? They're really after the Catholics, so I don't know. They were after a lot of people. Maybe they didn't even know why. They imported illegal alien murderers, drug dealers, and child predators from all over the world to come into our country while putting elderly Christians and pro-life activists on trial for singing hymns and for saying prayers. They went to jail for that. Our predecessors turned this Department of Justice into the Department of Injustice.
Big time.
But I stand before you today to declare that those days are over. And they are never going to come back. They're never coming back.
Real justice, and we want repercussions too for all those people.
So now, as
in
the
those
chief
walls.
law enforcement officer in our country, I will insist upon and demand full and complete accountability for the wrongs and abuses that have occurred. The American people have given us a mandate like few people thought possible. We won every single swing state. We won the popular vote by millions and millions of people. We won districts, 2,750. Think of that, 2,750 districts compared to 505. So we won it at levels that have, I don't believe, ever seen before. That's the one where you see the map of the United States and it's all red. Red for Republican, not for communist. Red for Republican.
Much
they
better
would like
color.
it to turn red for communist, but it didn't work
Not
out
gonna
that
happen.
way. The American people have given us a mandate and really a far-reaching investigation is what they are demanding into the corruption of our system. And
true.
that's exactly, I'm sure, what Pam and Cash and everyone
Yes.
else
Epstein,
mentioned here and
January
not mentioned
6th,
is going to be doing.
Wuhan.
We will expel the rogues and corrupt forces from our government. We will expose and very much expose their egregious crimes and severe misconduct, of which was levels you've never seen anything like it. It's going to be legendary. It's going to also be legendary for the people that are able to seek it out and bring justice. We will restore the scales of justice in America, and we will ensure that such abuses never happen again in our country. And that's why on day one, I signed an executive order banning all government censorship and directing the removal of every bureaucrat who conspired to attack free speech and many other things.
Thank you, Mr. President.
And values in America. My administration stripped the security clearances of the disgraced intelligence agents who lied about Hunter Biden's laptop
Yep.
from Al.
John Brennan
We
blown
revoked
out.
the clearances of deranged Jack Smith,
Sorry, Jack.
Alvin Bragg, Letitia James, and the
Big
crooked
Tish.
law firms that aided their partisan persecutions.
Perkins.
And I went through it. These are state and city courts, and the corruption is unbelievable. We also terminated the clearances of the Biden crime family and Joe Biden himself. He didn't deserve it. In fact, he was essentially found guilty, but they said he was incompetent.
Yeah,
and
doesn't even know what's
therefore,
going
let's
on.
not find him guilty, I guess. Nobody knows what that ruling was, but I didn't want any part of it. I think I would have rather been found guilty than what they found with him.
Incompetent.
He said he didn't know what the hell he was doing, and therefore he's let him go. I said, I'd rather be convicted, Pam. I think that was not, I said, please convict me, don't say that. I pardoned hundreds of political prisoners who had been grossly mistreated. We removed the senior FBI officials who misdirected resources to send SWAT teams after grandmothers and J6 hostages, and it was a great honor for me to fire, I will tell you this, a great great honor to fire James Comey.
Yeah.
A great, great honor. That was nothing. There was no better day.
Terrible
A lot of
person.
people said, oh, that's too bad you did that. And they said that's going to be, and you know what? A year later, they said that actually saved the administration because the level of corrupt things that we learned after that turned out to be that they were doing, in fact, really bad things. He was a terrible person, did terrible things and persecuted people.
Into Trump's
and,
campaign.
all in the guise of being an angel, but he wasn't an angel. We created a brand new DOJ task force and anti-Christian bias. And under Director Patel, we're getting the FBI agents out of the headquarters in Washington, D.C. and back on the streets in pursuit of dangerous criminals where they belong and where they want to be. And, you know, you have that big FBI building, and it's a very big building, and they were going to build an FBI headquarters 3 hours away in Maryland, a liberal state, but that has no bearing on what I'm about to say, but we're going to stop it. I can let that happen. We're going to build another big FBI building right where it is, which would have been the right place because the FBI and the DOJ have to be near each other. That's one thing I did learn from this persecution. The FBI and the DOJ work together. Now, in my case, they work together for bad purposes, but they do. They were always together. So how can you have one that's 3 hours away? But one thing I said to Cash, well, we're going to get a great building built. It's going to be a magnificent building. He said, sir, we don't need that kind of room. I said, what do you mean? He said, I'm just going to take a old Department of Commerce building that's about 25% the size, and that's what I need. We're going to have the best staff that you've ever seen, and that's what I need. It's in a nice location, but I don't need that big building. Why don't you just sell the site to somebody, and we're going to be very happy. And they want to have far fewer people, but we also want to have them in D.C. And if for no other reason, we like having law enforcement walking the streets of our capital, because when the bad guys are out there and they see there's an FBI agent, that's the ultimate in law enforcement, and they're not going to be acting so bad. We're cleaning up our city. We're cleaning up this great capital, and we're not going to have crime, and we're not going to stand for crime, and we're going to take the graffiti down, and we're already taking the tents down, and we're working with the administration, and if the administration can't do the job, we're going to have to take it back and run it through the federal government. But we hope the administration is going to be able. So far, they've been doing very well. The mayor's been doing a good job. We said there are tents galore right opposite the State Department. They have to come down, and they took them down right away. And so far, so good. But we want to have a capital that can be the talk of the world. When Prime Minister Modi of India, when the President of France, and all of these people, the head of Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, they all came to see me over the last week and a half. And when they come in, I had the route run. I didn't want to have them see tents. I didn't want to have them see graffiti. I didn't want to have them see broken barriers and potholes in the roads. And we had it looking beautiful. And we're going to do that for the city. And we're going to have a crime-free capital. When people come here, they're not going to be mugged or shot or raped. They're going to have a crime-free capital again. It's going to be cleaner and better and safer than it ever was. And it's not going to take us too long. Over the past 4 years, other countries emptied out their prisons and jails, mental institutions, and insane asylums, and sent the killers, drug smugglers, and bloodthirsty inmates from the filthiest dungeons of the world straight into the USA. And open border. We had an open border policy. Anybody could come in, no matter what you were, no matter where you came from, no matter what you looked like, no matter what you were doing, no matter what you did, no matter how many people you murdered, you could come right into our country. We have murderers right now walking the streets. We're joined today by Tammy Nobles, whose 20-year-old daughter, Kayla, was attacked in her home 3 years ago, horrifically assaulted and strangled to death by an illegal alien MS-13 monster set loose into our country under the open border Biden regime. Kayla was one of countless American victims ripped away from their families by the open border policies of that administration. And we're also joined by Kayla's stepfather, Jeremiah, and several other courageous angel families here today. And I want you to know that we are working every day to expel these savages from our country and ensure that what happened to your loved ones will never happen again. So their legacy is going to be a great one. Thank you all very much. We appreciate it. On day one of my administration, I declared a national emergency on our southern border. In our first full month in office, we achieved the lowest level of illegal border crossings ever recorded. Okay? Even lower than 4 years ago.
Those numbers came
For years, Democrats and the media kept saying that we needed new legislation. We had to have new legislation. We needed it immediately. And I never had legislation. I had the best border in the history of our country for almost 4 years. And by the time I got out, we had the lowest numbers ever. My favorite chart of all time was brought down that day. And on that chart said we had the lowest numbers ever. But it turned out that we really didn't need new legislation. All you needed was a new president. And I said that the other other night. That's all you needed was a new president saying, close the borders, because the Border Patrol is unbelievable, ICE is unbelievable, and all of our law enforcement is just incredible. All of you guys are amazing, and the people of our country respect you and they love you, and a lot of times you don't hear that because you have to listen to the fake news back there, but they have great respect for you, so I just want you to know that. And that includes our fire departments too. They don't get spoken about enough. They go into some of the areas I read where they're shooting them off ladders. Can you believe it? They go up to put out a fire, Leo, and they go and they shoot them off a ladder. It's just unbelievable. These firemen and women are incredible, so I want to put them in the same category. I also like the fact they voted for me like at 94%, so I have to mention them. I have no choice, right? But the truth is they're phenomenal people. The law enforcement, fire, everybody, they're phenomenal. Basically first responders, because that's what they are. They're first responders. And we're ending the migrant occupation of America, and what we're doing now is we're liberating our cities and our suburbs and our towns, and you see a big difference. I'm getting calls all the time from even leaders of other countries saying, sir, the whole world feels liberated now. It feels like there's a light over America, but there's a light over the whole world. I hear that so much. It's so nice to hear, too. And I feel it. I feel it. I look at it. I see the polls. I don't know if the polls are right, but they're certainly very good. I'll take them right now. It's amazing what's taken place in such a short period of time. Really 6 weeks, but it's longer than that. It's really November 5th. I think that hopefully will go down, if you do your job great, it'll go down as the most important day, one of them at least, in the history of our country. July 4th was pretty, 1776, it was pretty important too, but let's see if we can top it. Can we top it? I don't know. That's a tough one, but we're going to try. But it will be one of the most important days in the history of our country, and I think everybody in this room wants that to happen. Last month, we officially designated MS-13 and Trendiragua. That's the Venezuelan gang, the toughest gang, they say, in the world, and the Mexican drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. That's a big deal. Nobody wanted to do that in the past. And by the way, we've caught hundreds of them, the Venezuelan gang, which is as bad as it gets. And you'll be reading a lot of stories tomorrow about what we've done with them. And you'll be very impressed. And you'll feel a lot safer, too, because they are a vicious group. They went into Colorado. They took over areas of Colorado. They sort of were like me. They were in the real estate business, but they didn't go out and get financing. They just took over a building and kept it. And they said to the tenants, get the hell out of here. One man called the police, and they cut off his fingers. And they say, you call again, your other fingers, and you call a third time and you're dead. These are tough people and bad people, and we're getting them out of our country. And some are so bad we don't want to get them out. We have to put them in jail because we don't want to even take a chance that they can come back. Thanks to our efforts, Mexico recently handed over 29 of the biggest cartel leaders, including the depraved kingpin charged with the 1985 murder of DE agent Kiki Camarena. And that was a big deal. If you know, they've been looking for this person for years, many years, and we got him. This evil killer will be now prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, and we know that, let's put it this way, I have to be nice, it's a very strong case. We're stopping the criminals pouring across our borders at record levels, and we're also stopping the massive quantities of deadly drugs. In 2023 alone, drug overdoses killed more Americans in 12 months than they did during the entire decade between 1980 and 1990, so 10 times more, but it's much higher than that. More Americans died from fentanyl last year than died in the Korean War, or the Iraq War, the Afghanistan War, all of them combined. That's why I've placed large tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and China, and they will remain in place until these deadly poisons stop pouring into our country. And I will tell you, as soon as I put on the tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and China, unbelievable results have been seen in the last few weeks. Unbelievable results. They weren't happy about it. You probably read they weren't happy, but they are working like hell to end it. They weren't working very hard before I did that. With us today is a brave mother and advocate, Ann Fundner, who lost her beautiful 15-year-old son, Weston, to fentanyl. And Ann, if you would, I'd like to ask you to come up and say a few words, please. Thank you.
Well, first I want to say thank you. I think this is the biggest honor of my entire life, being on stage with President Trump. But I want to tell you a little bit about my son, Weston. Absolutely loved President Trump. He had a beautiful Trump 2020 flag hanging in his bedroom.
Shout out to Weston.
And he had it on the beach one day, and we took a picture, and it became our 2020 Christmas card with the most perfect slogan for President Trump, peace on earth. What would happen in the next 4 years would be devastational to our country and our safety of our children. And in 2022, Weston lost his life, a freshman in high school at the age of 15, from a single pill that took his life. The cartels were allowed to operate on American soil and took hundreds of thousands of American lives. And so we knew there was only one person that could save us from the devastation on our American soil, and that was President Trump. And so in 2024, we did the best thing that we could do to keep America safe again, and we elected President Donald J. Trump.
Let's go.
Thank you. He's done everything that he has promised. We have a 98% decrease in border crossings, and he has labeled the terrorist cartels terrorist organizations, and he has instilled tariffs because there is no price on human life. And so I feel like I can speak for the entire fentanyl fighting community when I say thank you to President Trump, and thank you to Pam Bondi and everyone out here who is fighting this fight. God bless you. God bless you, President Trump. And God bless America. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann, very much. Weston is, I just said to Ann, Weston is up in heaven watching his mom, and he's so proud of you. We're also joined today by a number of other American families who have lost loved ones to fentanyl, and I'd love you to just stand up for a second, and we want to acknowledge you, and also your daughters, your sons. They're looking down on you, and they're loving you like crazy. So thank you very much. Thank you. This department will not rest until we have ended the fentanyl epidemic in America once and for all. In less than 2 months since I took office, the DEA and FBI have seized nearly 1 million deadly doses of fentanyl, and that's just the beginning. At my direction and working with Pam and everybody else, we've launched an all-out war on fentanyl traffickers, and it's a war that we're going to win. We're going to win this war. I spoke with the president of Mexico, very nice woman, very fine woman, and I said, let me ask you, you're sending a lot of drugs into our country. We're not liking it at all. Can't do that. But I said, is Mexico, does it have much of a drug? She said, no, we're not a consuming nation. I thought it was an interesting term. And I said, why? And which I've heard also, by the way, they're not a consuming nation. They distribute, but they don't consume. But I said, why are you not a consumer? Well, we're very close with family. I said, so we're very close with family too. I mean, our families are being devastated and we're just as close. Why else? She said, well, we spend a lot of money on advertising saying how bad drugs are. They're very rough ads. They show the skin falling off and the teeth falling out and going blind and losing hair and everything that these things do. That you look like you just came out of a horrible concentration camp. And she said they're rough ads. And it's not often that I feel I've learned something from a phone call, because I've had a lot of phone calls over my life. But I realized right then and there what a great idea that is. And we have hired Susie, a great person who did a lot of our campaign work, and we've come up with an advertising campaign that's, I think, really incredible. More than anything else, it's terrible to watch. It's the only way it's going to work. And I would be, because we got the numbers down, 18% would have a blue ribbon committee headed by the First Lady of the United States, who everyone loves, and some of her friends. And, you know, they work so hard, but it's a tough deal. They're dealing with very smart and very vicious people. You know, some of those businesses, those cartels, are run better than any business in America. They say they're run incredibly, not just here, all over the world. They're run like a major business, but in many cases better. And I said, we got it 18% down. Well, 18% is incredible. It's like a record, but when you think of it, it's not very much. And the way you get it down, if you want to get it down to close to 100%, is with the death penalty. But I think maybe America is not ready for that. China has a death penalty. Singapore has a death penalty. Various places have the death penalty. Wherever you have the death penalty, you don't have drugs. But
it's true.
I just don't know if this country is ready for it. So I tell people, and it's always an option, but I don't know. I just don't know if you're ready for it, and that's okay. It's nothing you can do. But what we're going to do is we're doing this campaign, and I think we can get it down 50% with this campaign, because when people see all the horrible things that these drugs do to you, we're especially focused on fentanyl. When they see all of the horrible things that happen when you take drugs, how you look, you lose your look. Everyone's vain. They don't want to lose their look. The look is so important. And I think when they see these things, they may say, you know what, I'm going to take a pass. But there is big danger. Pam and I were talking about about it before. A lot of people are taking fentanyl and not even knowing. They think they're doing something else or maybe taking another drug, but at a much lower level, and they die. You can put on the pin, think of this, the head of a pin, fentanyl, and it's too much, and it will kill the strongest person in the room. And it's amazing. But we're going to do this campaign. It's going to be launched fairly soon, Susie. And I think it's going to have a big impact. I think if we got it down by another 30, 35 points, and I really believe we can, I think that's an incredible idea. So I thank the president of Mexico, actually. It was a call on tariffs, and we talked about drugs. And she gave me an idea that I think will be very successful. And based on what I saw, it's going to be amazing. Under our leadership, this department is once again laser focused on protecting the American people. We're defending our borders, our streets, our children, and our good, really, this is God-given rights and liberties once and for all. We're going to defend our country, and we're going to defend our rights. Etched onto the walls of this building are the words English philosopher John Locke said, "Where law ends, tyranny begins." And I see that, and I saw it over the last 4 years when somebody was allowed to attack viciously with this department and the FBI. His political opponent, how did that work out? Didn't work out too well, but it wasn't pleasant. I was attacked by a political opponent, and probably it helped that I was attacked more than anybody in the history of our country. Alphonse Capone, the great Alphonse Capone, legendary Scarface, was attacked only a tiny fraction of what Trump was attacked, and maybe it worked out well. I don't know. If I had to give it up, I probably wouldn't, but only because I've gone through it. But I wonder what the difference would be. Maybe they helped get me elected by those margins, the big margins, the big mandate that we received. But you can't go after your political opponent. Nobody's ever seen anything like it, actually, and hopefully they won't see anything like it. But now, with the return of law and order, the entire world is witnessing the triumph of American justice and American freedom. That's why we're here today, gathered with people that have love for our country. In the coming years, we will revive the storied legacy of this department, and it's happening right now. You can feel it. And rekindle the spirit of the great lawmen and legal lions of the past, Americans like Wyatt Earp, Elliot Ness, Frank Hammer, Rudy Giuliani. Rudy Giuliani had to suffer greatly. The greatest mayor in the history of our country had to suffer greatly. Ed Meese, Antonin Scalia, Robert Jackson, and Robert F. Kennedy.
Good list.
We will rebuild pride in our institutions. We will restore the prestige of this great department, and we will bring back faith in our justice system for the citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. And I want to just tell you that this has been a great honor. I was asked to do it, and I said, is it appropriate that I do it? And then I realized it's not only appropriate, I think it's really important. And I may never do it again. I may never have another chance to do it again, because this is something that I'm leaving to the greatest people I know, the best people, the smartest people, the toughest people I know. And they're going to do an incredible job. And it's an honor for me to have won this election so that I can appoint these people to do their job, and they're going to do it like you have never seen. So I just want to wish all of you good luck. It's going to be an interesting journey. Not going to be easy, but you're going to win. You're going to win, and fight. And it's going to end up being a tremendous result for this country. So thank you all very much. God bless America.